Hello and welcome to my channel, I Win to Lose Gaming. Cartethyia, one of the most anticipated characters, is now available in Wuthering Waves version 2.4. In today's ultimate guide video, you'll learn everything you need to know about Cartethyia. Currently, there is a buy one get one free sale. Get Cartethyia, and she comes with a free Fleurdelys as well. Multiple form characters have always been popular, and well, Fleurdelys certainly doesn't disappoint. Cartethyia is an incredibly cinematic arrow DPS character with an emphasis on erosion mechanics, like how she'll erode my wallet soon enough. Quick note, this video was filmed on the media server and things may be subject to change upon the official release. Please check the comments below to see if anything changed. As usual, we'll go through her kit, her best echoes and stats, her weapons, sequences, teams, a showcase, and finally my opinion at the end of the video. Now, as usual, Cartethyia's kit is very verbose. Fortunately, you don't need a PhD in human transformations to understand her kit, because I went through it so you don't have to. Now, before diving into additional details, Cartethyia's damage scales off of her HP. So this means she's actually kind of tankier than the average resonator. Kind of being a key word, which you'll see why soon enough. Cartethyia's kit revolves around generating 3 swords, absorbing them for buffs, and then transforming into Fleurdelys, where she'll discipline her enemies for some time before splitting your screen with her insane looking liberation. In baby Cartethyia form, your goal is to generate 3 swords. Her heavy attack and intro generates the first sword. Her basic attack 4 generates the second sword, and her resonance skill generates the third sword. Then simply perform a plunge attack to absorb these swords. After you've absorbed these swords, you should use her liberation to transform into Mommy Fleurdelys mode, where she'll gain these respective buffs for 12 seconds. Now, what is the easiest way to generate all 3 swords and absorb them? You can intro her onto the field and perform her basic 4 string. Then use her resonance skill, which conveniently puts her into the air, allowing her to automatically perform a plunge attack in order to absorb the 3 swords. Then you can use her liberation to transform into Fleurdelys. One minor drawback of her Fleurdelys form is that her HP is cut in half, but you will get this HP refunded when you use Fleurdelys' liberation. In her Mega form, her entire moveset is replaced with a new basic 1 through 5 string, a new set of aerial attacks, a new heavy attack with 2 parts, and a new resonance skill with 2 parts to it. The goal for Fleurdelys is simple. Fill up her forte bar via these methods, and once full, this gives you access to her screen-splitting liberation, after which Fleurdelys will lose all steam and revert back to her baby Cartethyia form. There are many ways to fill up Fleurdelys' forte bar, with one of the easiest being the following. After transforming, use her resonance skill part 1 and part 2. Then mash that basic attack button like it owes you a new screen, because you'll be using Fleurdelys' liberation shortly after a couple basic attack strings. You can of course get much fancier with her various options, but the nice thing about Fleurdelys is that whatever you mix and match honestly just tends to work out, as all of it fills up her forte bar pretty effectively and leads to her liberation. Okay, so now that we have a basic idea on how to use her, how does arrow erosion tie into all of this? Erosion, as a very quick refresher, is an arrow damage over time debuff on the enemy. Cartethia's second major talent provides her between 30 to 60% additional damage against targets with erosion on them. Most importantly, Fleurdelys' screen-splitting liberations damage improves based on how many erosion stacks are on the enemy. She removes stacks of erosion, and for each stack removed, she gains 20% liberation damage amplified for up to 5 stacks. So you'll want at least 5 stacks of erosion on the enemy to deal the maximum liberation damage. And as Cartethyia, her basic 4 and skill apply 1 and 2 stacks of erosion respectively. There are a bunch of other erosion related different things strewn about through her kit, like for example her plunge attack deals erosion damage and stuff, but honestly, it won't affect how the majority of us play with her, myself included. While there is certainly room to min-max erosion stacks and mechanics, I know what I'll be doing is simply providing divine punishment through her liberation. For her talent priority, prioritize her forte, then her liberation and basics, and then her skill and intro. And one last tip that I'm sure many more creative individuals will exploit is transforming between her Cartethyia and Fleurdelys forms mid-fight. You can actually swap back to Cartethyia if Fleurdelys' forte bar isn't full with a cooldown. And it will also actually pause the 12-second buffs that Fleurdelys gains, giving you some interesting quick swap and min-maxing potential. And next, for the most dizzying section of the video, the rotations. After your supports perform their rotations, perform the earlier Cartethyia rotation, which was intro, basic 2 to 4, skill, plunge to absorb the swords, and liberation. Now you've transformed into Fleurdelys, where for her simple rotation you can simply press Resonance Skill 1, Resonance Skill 2, then mash that basic attack button until her forte is full, and use her liberation and then outro. Of course, this is the simple Fleurdelys rotation, and keep in mind that Fleurdelys' rotation is actually quite flexible, so you can do something much cooler instead. Like this rotation, where Carthethia's stuff doesn't change at all. Once you enter Fleurdelys mode, use her skill 1, then midair 3 aka plunge attack. You can execute this midair 3 by holding the basic attack button during skill 1. After that, use her skill 2 into basics 3 through 5, and now you can actually use her heavy 1 and 2, which will give you just enough forte to perform her liberation 2, where you can then outro. The advantage of this rotation is that it's a bit shorter. So yeah, as we can see, you'll have a lot of chances to test and optimize your personal playstyle with her. You can even swap cancel a lot with her if you want. And on screen I have this example full team rotation. Now keep in mind that Arrow Rover's rotation will be faster after the first rotation because of Cartethia's passive, which provides Rover with some wind string. Regardless, as always, hopefully this gives you a decent starting point for you guys to experiment. We've made it to the math section of the video, and fortunately, building Cartethyia is both simple and a bit interesting at the same time. Needless to say, her best set is the Windward Pilgrimage. The 2-piece set gives 10% arrow damage, and the 5-piece set, when you hit an enemy with arrow erosion on them, gives 10% crit rate and 30% arrow damage bonus. For the equipped Echo, the Reminiscence Fleurdelys is the way to go, as it gives her 20% arrow damage bonus. For the main stats, this is where it actually gets a little interesting, where the 4411 cost Echo setup is her best option. For the 4 costs, a crit rate and crit damage Echo is recommended. And since she scales off of HP, make sure the 1 cost echoes are all HP percent main stat. The standard 43311 setup though is viable, but it is around 4% worse, and building echoes is expensive, so I actually just recommend focusing on the aforementioned 44111 setup. Now for stats, prioritize crit rate and crit damage and HP percent. Normal attack damage and liberation damage are okay to have as well. Generally speaking, Cartethyia doesn't actually need too much energy regen, typically between 107 to 122% depending on her team. But as always, energy regen is a very nice quality of life for situations where you can't always output the full team rotation every time. As for Cartethia's weapons, breaking news! Her signature weapon, the Defier's Thorn, is her best option. This thing provides a ton of HP percent, a bit of defense ignore, and it provides damage amplification against enemies with erosion on them. Her next best option is Camellia's signature weapon, the Red Spring. But the Red Spring does fall far behind at around only 81% of the Defier's Thorn. Next we have the Emerald of Genesis, which is okay at 78.5%, followed by some other signature swords. Interestingly, the 3-star Guardian Sword is usable at around 73.8% of her signature weapon, thanks to the HP percent it provides. But yeah, it falls far behind her signature sword. As for her sequences and investment priority, her weapon is overall the most recommended thing to upgrade first due to the lower amount of pulls on average to get. And for those Bitcoin buyers from the 2010 era, Cartethia's sequences, starting with her sequence 1, appears to be a very nice quality of life improvement, allowing her to apply erosion stacks more efficiently, especially against multiple waves. It also improves her damage as well. Sequence 2 though is the big one, increasing max erosion stacks by 3 and improving her multipliers. Sequence 3 is another solid one, allowing her to stack much more erosion herself and also improves her skill damage. Sequence 4 takes on its usual role as a stepping stone to Sequence 6 and basically just gives 20% bonus damage to the team. Sequence 5 is another stepping stone and provides some defensive utility. And finally, after getting across those stepping stones, Sequence 6 does give a lot of stuff, which basically just increases her damage. I'm not going to read all this to you. Next, let's talk about Cartethia's teams. Overall, her cookie cutter best team on her release should be Cartethyia, Chacona, and Arrow Rover. Arrow Rover increases the max erosion stacks from 3 to 6, allowing Cartethyia to benefit fully from some of the erosion-related mechanics in her kit. Also, Cartethia's passive makes Arrow Rover much more usable thanks to the improved interrupt resistance. Chacona also buffs arrow damage and also the team's erosion damage and also applies plenty of erosion stacks. On this team, I recommend the Rejuvenating Glow on Rover and the Gusts of Welkin on Chacona. Unfortunately, replacing Chacona with someone like Shorekeeper does lead to a significant performance loss, but still, Cartethyia should be a pretty decent and strong character even without Chacona. Now, I did get Phoebe a try, but honestly, I found it pretty clunky. But maybe some of you guys will be able to make it work better than I could. That brings me to the next character I actually recommend if you don't have Chacona, Sanhua. Cartethyia actually does deal a decent amount of basic attack damage, and as such, when in need, bring Sanhua. As for Arrow Rover, you can replace them with Shorekeeper and not suffer as much of a damage loss in comparison to losing Chacona. This might be a good option if your rover has other waifus to attend to in their harem, like being Frazolbulus for Zani. I'm sure there are plenty of other combinations that can work, like Alto even, so let me know what you end up cooking up in the comments below. Alright, I've got a couple quick showcases for you guys, with the first one being the cookie cutter team with Arrow Rover as well as Chacona and Cartethyia. And I apologize for changing the way I say her name like every 2 sentences. I keep forgetting how to pronounce it because every time I feel like it's something different, but it's not. I guess it's the same, but yeah, I keep messing it up. So anyway, my apologies in advance. But this run in particular, against the Tempest Mephis here, this center tower 2-1 has some major buffs for arrow as well as erosion, so do keep that in mind. But still, you know, this team feels pretty decent to use and pretty smooth, although I gotta be completely honest, I'm not a big fan of Arrow Rover. Arrow Rover feels a little clunky, and I'm sure there's many ways to optimize their rotation, but unfortunately I'm not that aware of it. But yeah, this specific run I decided to include even though it wasn't my fastest run because I managed to do the cooler, slightly faster rotation, but then the rest of the run was kind of flubbed up, where here I am, I'm not even sure what I'm doing with Chacona, but you know, we managed to beat this thing, obviously, pretty effortlessly with this team, and Cartethyia is going to be a really satisfying and fun character to play for many, and for me, you know, while I haven't had that much time to really practice and play with her, kind of more of an introduction to the character, I can definitely see a lot of people doing some pretty crazy things with her when it comes to quick swapping, as well as literally swapping between her 2 forms. And it's going to be really cool to see what the community can cook up. And for this run here, I've replaced Chacona with Shorekeeper, demonstrating you don't absolutely need, you know, a Chacona in order to run Cartethyia. In fact, because Cartethyia actually deals a decent amount of basic attack damage, you can get away with a team like this, which is pretty cool to see. You know, that's definitely something I wasn't really expecting at the beginning. But yeah, you can just pretty much spam a bunch of basic attacks with this, especially with Sanhua providing the basic attack amplify for her in order to, you know, deal some, I guess, a decent damage. You can see definitely the Liberation is doing a lot less damage than with the previous team, so do keep that in mind. There's definitely a big damage gap here, but still, I was personally actually pretty surprised and impressed by how decent this team felt. And you know, it could have been a lot worse, but still feels pretty decent to play. And yeah, one issue with this team though is that you can't really quick swap because obviously Sunhwa's deepen. You'll lose that deepen, so compared to perhaps higher skill ceiling teams like the previous team with Chacona, where I believe you can probably quick swap Arrow Rover on and off a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong there. But whenever I tried to quick swap Arrow Rover on and off, I wasn't sure what I was even supposed to do with her. So yeah, I didn't bother. I was just like, okay, whatever. We're just going to play this old school style, just one after the other for good times and reasonable clears. And I decided, hey, what the heck? We've got access to all the sequences in the game. So let's go ahead and give Sequence 6 Refinement 5 Cartethyia a try. Should be pretty fun to see what she can do. And the rest of the team is also at Sequence 6 Refinement 5. So a very expensive team, all things considered. So yeah, let's take a look. And here we can see that this is in the Tower 2-2. And looks like Cartethyia's rotation is even able to wipe out a couple of the waves. And here we have the boss, and her attacks are just doing way more damage after, all of the sequences and stuff. And we almost didn't even get to see her ultimate, and that ultimate did over 370,000 damage per tick. So anyway, I decided, okay, let's go ahead and give this a try against the Dragon of Dirge of Sequence 6 or whatever, or, the hologram. And here we go. And bam! This one didn't do as much damage as the previous one, I think due to some of the buffs and stuff falling off. But my goodness, yes, she does a ton of damage at whale levels of investment. So hopefully that was a bit fun for you guys to see and to look at. So there you have it. Hopefully this video helped you learn how to use Cartethyia and what you can expect from her. Overall, she is a very satisfying character to play, and Fleurdelys' ultimate just simply looks incredible. With Chacona, she feels very powerful and fluid as well, and this combination of characters will likely be one of the new strongest teams in the game. Let me know what you think about her, and if you're pulling for the 2-for-1 buy one get one free deal. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. This is I Win to Lose, signing out.